Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, our continuing look at Tis Pity She's a Whore by John Ford. And we are a third of the way through the play. It moves at a fair old pace. We're going from Act 2, Scene 5, as we find out how far the love of a brother and a sister will go in early modern drama terms in the 1620s, 30s. Yes, it's quite a shocking play even today. I mean, if you didn't know what was happening at the beginning of the play, it doesn't half give you a little kick when it gets going, and you go, ooh, okay, this is getting interesting. So yeah, we're going to find out where it goes today as we continue the cheerful story. So reading today are the brother as well as Poggio, Cardinal. So that's Giovanni, Poggio, and Cardinal is
Lois in London.
Reading the sister who everybody is hoping to match with, Annabella and Grimaldi is.
Hello, my name is Lynn. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Putana, Vasques, and Officer is.
I am Greg, and I'm really looking forward to some great city comedy. Not.
Yes, we've definitely crossed genres, haven't we? Reading Florio and Philotis is.
Hello, you suffer.
Reading Donado, Soranzo, and a servant is.
Kyle in Tucson.
And reading Friar, Bergetto, and Hippolita is.
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm here to join in the fun.
Fun. Yes. And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and possibly Richardetto as well as we go. So without further ado, we're going to return. We're going to go back to where we started in a weird way, because the play opened with a chat between Giovanni and his tutor and confidant, shall we say, the Friar, who I don't think ever gets given a name. But
Bonaventure.
Bonaventure. Do we have one? Did we have that earlier, or does it turn up later?
I'm not sure. It's mentioned somewhere.
I don't think the play's mentioned it so far, so we shall see. Let's look out for his name.
Right.
It's definitely in the dramatis personae, but I don't know where it turns up in the text. Anyway, Act 2, Scene 5, enter Friar and Giovanni.
Peace, thou hast told the tale whose every word threatens eternal slaughter to the soul. I'm sorry I've heard it. Would mine ears had been 1 minute deaf before the hour that thou camest to me. O young man cast away by the religious number of mine order, high day and night have waked my aged eyes above thy strength to weep on thy behalf. But heaven is angry, and be thou resolved. Thou art a man remarked to taste the mischief. Look for it, though it come late, it will come sure.
Father, in this you are uncharitable. What I have done, I'll prove both fit and good. It is a principle which you have taught when I was yet your scholar, that the frame and composition of the mind doth follow the frame and composition of the body. So, where the body's furniture is beauty, the mind's must needs be virtue, which, allowed, virtue itself is reason but refined, and love the quintessence of that. This proves my sister's beauty, being rarely fair, is rarely virtuous, chiefly in her love, and chiefly in that love, her love to me. If hers to me, then so is mine to her, since in like causes are effects alike.
Oh, ignorance and knowledge long ago, how often have I warned thee this before? Indeed, if we were sure there were no deity, nor heaven, nor hell, then to be let alone by nature's light, as were philosophers of elder times, might instance some defense. But 'tis not so. Then, madman, thou wilt find that nature is in heaven's positions blind.
Your age o'errules you. Had you youth like mine, you'd make her love your heaven, and her divine.
Nay, then, I see thou art too far sold to hell. It lies not in the compass of my prayers to call thee back. Yet let me counsel thee, persuade thy sister to some marriage.
Marriage? Why, that's to damn her. That's to prove her greedy of variety of lust.
Oh, fearful, if thou wilt not, give me leave to shrive her, lest she should die unabsolved.
At your best leisure, father. Then she'll tell you how dearly she doth prize my matchless love. Then you will know what pity 'twere we two should have been sundered from each other's arms. View well her face, and in that little round you may observe a world of variety. For color, lips; for sweet perfumes, her breath; for jewels, eyes; for threads of purest gold, hair; for delicious choice of flowers, cheeks. Wonder in every portion of that throne. Hear her but speak, and you will swear the spheres make music to the citizens in heaven. But, father, what is else for pleasure framed, lest I offend your ears, shall go unnamed.
The more I hear, I pity thee the more, that one so excellent should give those parts all to a second death. What I can do is but to pray, and yet I could advise thee, wouldst thou be ruled.
In what?
Why, leave her yet. The throne of mercy is above your trespass. Yet time is left you both.
To embrace each other, else let all time be struck quite out of number. She is like me, and I like her, resolved.
No more. I'll visit her. This grieves me most, things being thus, a pair of souls are lost.
And exeunt. So it's fair to say the Friar's plan didn't work, and now he knows it. And, you know, this is the point when the Friar maybe, on a professional level, should be maybe... I don't know, maybe passing this on to his supervisor. I think there's a chain of command thing here that maybe this is above the Friar's pay grade, and maybe he really shouldn't. Because what does he do at the end?
Right.
Again, he sort of weakly sort of goes, "Well, I'll talk to her." Thing. He's really trying to argue Giovanni out of this, and there's sort of a little learning is a dangerous thing. He's going, I've taught you enough, but clearly not enough for wisdom, have I? You've learned some technical tricks in arguing with me, but it's clearly not leading you to a very good conclusion. Lois?
Yeah, I don't think he can pass this on to anyone else. I mean, one thing that the Elizabethan dramatists knew was that anything revealed in confession was secret. I mean, it couldn't be revealed. And presumably, Giovanni's told him all this in confession.
Well, I don't know. He's a friar, so he might not actually be able to take confession. He may just be there as a confidant. It doesn't automatically work that way. Alan.
Yeah, I must admit, Giovanni does seem to have modern residences, rules are for other people, the little people.
Eric?
Well, what struck me is that, we have I don't know, it's not a very long scene, but you get the mention of pity at least 3 times, I think, maybe more. 'Tis pity, oh yeah, I pity thee the more, and so on and so on. And it's like, I feel like we're building up to something here.
How many pissies can we get in before we get the full title? Is it a slow progression of pities? Good question. Any other thoughts? It's a little scene, and I say it's almost like just a marker. It's just it is treading some old ground, but it is slightly pushing us in a forward as well. So and it's nice. It's nice to see the Friar again. I did like the first scene with the Friar. I feel there should be more Friar in this play. So I'm content with that. Otherwise, we'll move on and complete the act, as it were. Though the act was completed a while ago. Act 2, Scene 6. Enter Florio, Donado, Annabella, and Putana.
Where's Giovanni?
Newly walked abroad, and as I heard him say, gone to the friar, his reverend tutor.
That's a blessed man. Man made up of holiness, I hope. He'll teach him how to gain another world.
Fair gentlewoman, here's a letter sent to you from my young cousin. I dare swear he loves you in his soul. Would you could hear sometimes what I see daily, sighs and tears, as if his breast were prison to his heart.
Receive it, Annabella.
Alas, good man.
What's that, she said?
And please you, sir, she said, alas, good man, truly I do commend him to her every night before her first sleep. because I would have a dream of him, and she hearkens to that most religiously.
Say it so, God of mercy, Putana, that's something for thee. And pray thee do what thou canst on his behalf. Shall not be lost labor, take my word for it.
Thank you most heartily, sir. Now I have a feeling of your mind. Let me alone to work.
Where are we?
Guardian.
Guardian,
Did you call?
keep this letter.
Signor Florio, in any case, bid her read it instantly.
Keep it for what? Pray, read it me here right.
I shall, sir.
She reads.
How do you find her inclined, Signor?
True, sir, I know not how. Not all so well as I could wish.
Sir, I am bound to rest your cousin's debtor. The jewel I'll return, for if he love, I'll count that love a jewel.
Mark you that. Nay, keep them both, sweet maid.
You must excuse me. Indeed, I will not keep it.
Where's the ring, that which your mother in her will yet bequeathed, and charged you on her blessing not to give it to any but your husband? Send back that.
I have it not.
Huh? Have it not? Where is't?
My brother in the morning took it from me, said he would wear it today.
Well, what do you say to young Bergetto's love? Are you content to match with him? Speak.
There is the point indeed.
What shall I do? I must say something now.
What say? Why do you not speak?
Sir, with your leave, please give me your freedom.
Yes, you have.
Signor Donado, if your nephew mean to raise his better fortunes in this match, the hope of me will hinder such a hope. Sir, if you love me, as I know you do, find one more worthy of his choice than me. In short, I am sure I shan't be his wife.
Why, here's plain dealing. I commend thee for it. And all the worst I wish thee is heaven bless thee. Your father yet and I will still be friends. Shall we not, Signor Florio?
Yes, why not? Look here, your cousin comes.
Enter Bergetto and Poggio.
Oh, coxcomb, what doth he make here?
Where's my uncle, sirs?
What's the news now?
Save you, uncle, save you. You must not think I come for nothing, masters. And how is it? How is it? You read my letter. There, I tickled you in face.
But for better, you'd tickled her in another place.
Sarah, sweetheart, I'll tell thee a good jest, and riddle what it is.
You said you'd tell me.
As I was walking just down the street, I met a swaggering fellow would needs take the wall of me, and because he did thrust me, I very valiantly called him rogue. He hereupon bade me draw. I told him I had no more wit than so. But when he saw that I would not, he did so mold me with the hilts of his rapier that my head sung whilst my fear capered in the kennel.
Was ever the like ass seen?
And what did you all this while?
Laugh at him for a gull, till I see the blood run about mine ears. Then I could not choose but find in my heart to cry. Till a fellow with a broad beard, they say he's a new-come doctor, called me into this house and gave me a plaster. Look, you here it is. And sir, there was a young wench washed my face and hands most excellently. If it, I shall love her as long as I live for it. Did she not, Poggio?
Yes, and kissed him too.
Why, la now, you think I tell a lie, uncle, I warrant.
Would he that beat the blood out of thy head had beaten some wit into it, for I fear you never will have any.
Oh, uncle, but there was a wench would have done a man's heart good to have looked on her. By this light she had a face methinks worth 20 of you, Mistress Annabella.
Was ever such a full born?
I am glad she liked you, sir.
Are you so? By my troth, I thank you for sooth.
George was the doctor's niece that was the last day with us here.
'Twas she.
How do you know that simplicity?
Why, does he not say so? If I should have said no, I should have given him the lie, uncle, and so have deserved a dry beating again. Well, none of that.
A very modest, well-behaved young maid as I've ever seen.
Is she indeed?
Indeed she is, if I have any judgment.
Well, sir, now you are free. You need not care for sending letters. Now you are dismissed. Your mistress here will none of you.
No, what care I for that? I can have wenches enough in Parma for 1/2 crown apiece, can I not, Poggio?
I warrant you, sir.
Signor Florio, I thank you for your free recourse. You gave me my admittance, and to your fair maid that jewel I will give you against your marriage. Come, will you go, sir?
I marry, will I, mistress? Farewell, mistress. I'll come again tomorrow. Farewell, mistress.
And exit Donado, Bergetto, and Poggio. Enter Giovanni.
Son, where have you been? Not alone. Alone? Still? I would not have it so. You must forsake this over-bookish humour. Well, your sister hath shook the fool off.
'Twas no match for her.
'Twas not indeed. I meant it nothing less. Soranzo is the man I only like. Look on him, Annabella. Come, 'tis supper time, when it grows late.
Exit Florio.
Whose jewel's that?
Some sweethearts.
So I think.
A lusty youth. Signor Donado gave it me to wear against my marriage.
But you shall not wear it. Send it him back again.
What, are you jealous?
That you shall know anon, at better leisure. Welcome, sweet night. The evening crowns the day.
And exit, possibly for a mini interval break, and presumably they're going off together to do what they do when they go off together between scenes. Lots of ominous things there, isn't it? The that you shall know anon at better leisure. Yeah, that's a foreshadowing. I did like the bit about when the father's asking, where's your mother's ring? I think I gave it. My brother has it. And he's like, yeah, and yes, it's interesting. Donado's sudden sort of shift of emphasis the moment they start talking about, there's this other person who might be available, and he's going, maybe an easier person to foist my nephew on. And God, I mean, Bergetto, he's quite a piece of work, isn't he? He's sort of going, yes, well, of course I could just hire a woman for any time I fancy her. And he's sort of going, dude, really? Oh God! I mean, they're all sort of awful in their own sort of different, interesting little ways. I still quite like Florio. Florio is interesting. I was wondering at the beginning of the scene what Florio was, because he was sort of quite pushing the match at the beginning of the scene to Annabella. But then at the end of it, he's going, "Yeah, your sister got rid of him quickly enough." I mean, it's like it's like he's pushing, but he's not pushing too far, and he does sort of know which way the wind is blowing. So he's not an idiot either. It's not like he's completely missing signals from people, though obviously nobody's getting the obvious signals that we're getting. Lynn.
Although his favorite suitor is Soranzo, and I get the impression from earlier scenes that the affair between Soranzo and Hippolita was sort of an open secret. Her reputation is ruined. So everybody in the community knows that he seduced another man's wife. But the father's like, boys will be boys. He's rich and I want my daughter to marry him. It's something like that. So
I mean, on paper, he's a good match, isn't he? I mean, and again, you're perhaps in that society you are expecting something like that to be going on.
I mean, the double standard is very much taken for granted. But a really good father, a father, would want his daughter to marry someone who seemed likely to be faithful to her. And Soranzo is not that guy. So he's getting like a C+, B-, and the dad in the dad Olympics. Yeah.
Could try harder. Lois.
Yeah, I think, we can see that Bergetto is sort of useless as a suitor. The contrast between Soranzo and Grimaldi, I think, is Grimaldi is described as a soldier, although he refuses to fight because he says somebody's not really sufficiently noble for him. But Soranzo is clearly the finest flower of Renaissance nobility, except that he's a jerk. I mean, he's first seen reading a poem, and he actually makes up a kind of parody of it. And he's obviously highly cultivated, but probably very elegant, the sort of person that you would want your daughter to marry if you didn't mind about his morals too much. And probably his morals might even be okay by the standards of Parma. I mean, he tells Hippolita that it would have been more sinful to keep his promise to her than to break it. And that sort of hypocrisy probably would have appealed to the other citizens. I think it's also rather nice the way Donado and Florio, say they'll go on being friends in spite of what could have been a kind of embarrassing situation.
Okay, we go into Act 3 now, and we got lots of short scenes in Act 3, so I'm going to run a couple into each other each time. I'm going to try not to run too many scenes together, but we won't necessarily do every scene with a break. But Act 3, Scene 1, we have the return of the A comedy team. Enter Bergetto and Poggio.
Good Belgian, I was muted. Does my uncle think to make me a baby still? No, Poggio, he shall know I have a sconce now.
Aye, let him not bob you off like an ape with an apple.
Sfoot, I will have the wench if he were 10 uncles in spite of his nose, Poggio.
Hold him to the grindstone, and give not a jot of ground. She hath in a manner promised you already.
True, Poggio, and her uncle the doctor swore I should marry her.
He swore, I remember.
And I will have her that's more. Did you see the codpiece point she gave me and the box of marmalade?
Oh, very well. And kissed you that my chops watered at the sight on't. There's no way but to clap up a marriage and hugger-mugger.
I will do it, for I tell thee, Poggio, I begin to grow valiant, methinks, and my courage begins to rise.
Should you be afraid of your uncle?
Hang him, old doting rascal, I say I will have her.
Lose no time, then.
I will beget a race of wise men and constables that shall cart horses at their own charges and break the duke's peace ere I have done myself. Come away.
And they exit. Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Florio, Giovanni, Soranzo, Annabella, Putana, and Vasques.
My lord Soranzo, I must confess, the proffers that have made me have been great. In the marriage of my daughter, yet the hope of your still rising have prevailed above all other jointures. Here she is. She knows my mind. Speak for yourself to her. And hear you, daughter. See you use him nobly. Any private speech, I'll give you time. Come, son, and you. The rest, let them alone, agree as they may.
I thank you, sir.
Sister, be not all woman. Think on me.
Vasquez?
My lord.
Attend me without.
And they exit, except for Soranzo and Annabella.
Sir, what's your will with me?
Do you not know what I should tell you?
Yes, you'll say you love me.
And I'll swear it too. Will you believe it?
'Tis not point of faith.
At some point, enter Giovanni above.
Have you not will to love?
Not you.
Whom then?
That says the fates infer.
Those I'm regent now.
What mean you, sweet?
To live and die a maid.
Oh, that's unfit.
Here's one can say that's but a woman's note.
Did you but see my heart, then would you swear.
That you were dead.
That's true, or somewhat near it.
See you these true love tears?
No.
Now she winks.
They plead to you for grace.
Yet speak nothing.
Oh, grant my suit.
What is't?
To let me live.
Take it.
Still yours.
That is not mine to give.
One such another word would kill his hopes.
Mistress, to leave those fruitful strives of wit, I know I have loved you long, and loved you truly. Not hope of what you have, but what you are, have drawn me on. Then let me not in vain still feel the rigor of your chaste disdain. I am sick, and sick to the heart.
Help, aquavitae!
What mean you?
Why, I thought you had been sick.
Do you mock my love?
There, sir, she was too nimble.
'Tis plain, she laughs at me. These scornful taunts neither become your modesty or years.
You are no looking glass, or if you were, I'd dress my language by you.
I'm confirmed.
To put you out of doubt, my lord, methinks your common sense should make you understand that if I loved you, or desired your love, some way I should have given you better taste. But since you are a noble man, and one I would not wish would spend his youth in hopes, let me advise you here to forbear your suit, and think I wish you well. I tell you this.
Is it you speaks this?
Yes, I myself. Yet no, thus far I give you comfort. If mine eyes could have picked out a man amongst all those that suit to me to make a husband of, you should have been the man. Let it suffice. Be noble in your secrecy, and wise.
Now I see she loves me.
One word more. As ever virtue lived within your mind, as ever noble courses were your guide, as ever you would have me know you loved me, let not my father know hereof by you. If hereafter find that I must marry, it shall be you or none.
I take that promise.
Oh, my head.
What's the matter? Not well?
I begin to sicken.
Heaven forbid.
Exit from above.
Help, help, within there, ho!
Look to your daughter, Signor Florio.
Enter Florio, Giovanni, and Putana.
Hold her up, she swoons.
Sister, how do ye?
Sick, brother, are you there?
Convey her to her bed instantly, while I send for a physician. Quickly, I say.
Alas, poor child.
And they exit, leaving Soranzo. Enter Vasques.
My lord.
Oh, Vasquez, now I doubly am undone, both in my present and future hopes. She plainly told me that she could not love, and thereupon soon sickened, and I fear her life's in danger.
By a lady, sir, and so is yours, if you knew all. Alas, sir, I am sorry for that. Maybe 'tis but the maid's sickness, an overflux of youth, and then, sir, there is no such present remedy as present marriage. But has she given you an absolute denial?
She hath, and she hath not. I'm full of grief, but what she said, I'll tell thee as we go.
And exit. And it's interesting in these scenes that we're getting moments of little things nudging the plot forward, little things where we're reminding people of plots that are in progress. So just Vasquez' little aside there of just going, when Soranzo says, "Oh, I'm afraid her life's in danger," and he turns to the audience and go, "Yeah, yours is as well, mate, because we organised a murder earlier." Or certainly your ex-lover wants to is interested in your death. I don't think they've actually organised how that's going to work yet. And yeah, so we've got the possibility of, it's a question of her exiting sick. Is that suggesting pregnancy? Is that where we're going there? We've got Giovanni up at the top, running commentary of what's going on in the scene below. And it's interesting, of course, Soranzo has actually a sort of genuine moment of worry. It seems genuine, of going, "Oh, I hope she's not going to die. She doesn't seem well." He's convinced by her act and her what she's doing there. So we're having all sorts of interesting little directions flying in and out here, as well as the short little scene of Bergetto and Poggio sort of slightly taking on the thought from the previous scene, but probably there very much just break scenes up a little bit. But yes, again, little things just to keep those wheels turning. It's not like the plot lines have all been dropped. There's just little threads. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, I think Soranzo's reaction of worry over her health is possibly due to the prospect of large sums of money disappearing from his grasp.
Oh yes, I mean, I'm sure there's a but he does seem genuinely concerned. Don't want people to die. It's just because they're not very nice people doesn't mean they're all monsters. There are limits. Kyle.
Yeah, it's interesting what you just said about him not being quite a monster, and Lois had said earlier something about there being a kind of tenderness between them. They all seem to have, there seems to be like connection between characters in a strange way, for being such a dark and kind of vicious plotting and stuff. There's still, I don't know if it's the language, but there still seems to be this sense of like community in some weird way.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, we have this sort of wooing scene with Soranzo, which is broken up twice because we know Soranzo's quite good at wooing people in a utterly insincere way. So we can question how sincere everything that he's doing here is. It's also broken up by Giovanni's running commentary above of you know what she's doing, and of course what she's doing within the scene as well. And of course we know the father wants her to say yes, but you know, and she's sort of equivocating as much as she can. And so, yeah, this scene is doing so much stuff for actors to be playing with because everybody's sort of doing a double thing all the time, as well as, you know, quadruple things going on for the audience. It's a very clever little bit of work. And I say the Poggio and Bergetto scene was very much in line with everything else. I don't think there's a lot to say about it, but it, you know, it's nudging us along the line of the B plot's going to meet the C plot in some conjunction. Isn't that nice? Any other thoughts? I'm getting more and more worried about Giovanni as we go. Eric.
It does feel a bit like sort of like a sitcom where you kind of like, you know, sort of, or a soap opera where you've got these moments of like, oh yes, she's sleeping with her brother, and therefore, you know, in my head it went, you know, in my head I'm like, oh, she's pregnant, like that's the next step, like in the soap opera dramatic like thing. So yeah, this can't possibly go wrong.
Yeah, it is that we've got all of these characters interacting in a very complex ways, and yeah, what's the next thing to add? What's the next thing to add? And it's just little nudges as well, just little nudges that have all been set up quite well earlier on, and they're now sort of locking into place, so we start feeling a center of gravity moving forward. Yeah, we were discussing, I think, off camera last time about, you know, modern genres and modern sort of outlets for things, and maybe soap opera is an element of this. It's interesting with a play like this, is if you nudge this slightly further away from tragedy, if you took this as just a series of wooings and moved the incest element out slightly, you could still play pretty much all of the play the same, but its tone completely shifts. And it becomes a very different beast, and that's something really interesting. Also in rehearsals to play with, is to keep a play like this fresh, as well over time. Okay, any more for any more? No. Okay, we'll run a couple of scenes again. We've got some short scenes, so we'll just run a couple of scenes into each other, and just looking ahead. Whether I can give somebody else Richardetto rather than me reading it. No. No. Oh no, maybe yes, maybe.
Oh, Rob, you can play with it. Come on.
That's all right. Greg, I think you can probably read Richardetto for the next couple of scenes.
Okay, cool.
And I can take your officer away from you.
Okay.
I think that works. If I'm horribly wrong, we'll find out in a minute. But yeah, that's better. Okay, Act 3, Scene 3. It doesn't matter for a scene. Enter Giovanni and Putana.
Sir, we have all undone, quite undone, utterly undone, and shamed forever. Your sister, oh, your sister!
What of her? For heaven's sake, speak. How does she?
Oh, that ever I was born to see this day!
She's not dead, huh? Is she?
Oh, dead! No, she is quick! Oh, what is worse? She is with child! You know what you have done. Heaven forgive ye. Oh, it is too late to repent. Now heaven help us.
With child? How dost thou know it?
Oh, do I know it? Am I these years ignorant what the meanings of queens and water pangs be, of changing of colours, queasiness of stomachs, pukings, and another thing that I could name, do not, for her and your credit's sake, spend the time in asking how and which way 'tis so. She's quick upon my word. If you let physician see her water, you are undone.
In what case is she?
Oh, prettily amended. 'Twas but a fit which I soon espied, and she must look for often henceforward.
Commend me to her. Bid her take no care. Let not the doctor visit her, I charge you. Make some excuse till I return. Oh, me, I have a world of business in my head. Do not discomfort her. How does this news perplex me? If my father come to her, tell him she's recovered well. Say 'twas but some ill diet. Do you hear, woman? Look to it.
Yes, sir!
And they exit. Swift hat change as we go into Act 3, Scene 4. Enter Florio and Richardetto.
And how'd you find her, sir?
Indifferent, well, I see no danger. Scarce perceive she's sick, but that she told me. She had lately eaten melons, and as she thought, those disagreed with her young stomach.
Did you give her aught?
An easy surfeit water, nothing else. You do not doubt her health. I rather think her sickness is a fullness of her blood. You understand me?
I do. You counsel well. And once within these few days we'll so order it, she shall be married, ere she know the time.
Yet let not haste, sir, make unworthy choice. That word is honour.
Master Doctor, no. I will not do so neither. In plain words, my Lord Soranzo is the man I mean.
A noble and a virtuous gentleman.
As is any in Parma, not far hence. Dwells Father Bonaventure, grey friar, once used to my son, now at his cell. I'll have 'em married.
You have plotted wisely.
I'll send one straight to speak with him tonight.
Soranzo's wise. He will delay no time.
It shall be so.
Enter Friar and Giovanni.
Good peace be here and love.
Welcome, religious friar. You are one that still bring blessing to the place you come to.
Sir, with what speed I could, I did my best to draw this holy man from forth his cell to visit my sick sister, that with words of ghostly comfort in this time of need, he might absolve her, whether she live or die.
'Twas well done, Giovanni. Thou herein hast showed a Christian's care, a brother's love. Come, father, I'll conduct you to her chamber, and one
Hey.
thing would entreat you.
Say on, sir.
I have a father's dear impression, and wish before I fall into my grave that I might see her married, as 'tis fit. A word from you, grave man, will win her more than all our best persuasions.
Gentle sir, all this I'll say, that heaven may prosper her.
And exit. You get the impression that Friar's nightmare just keeps piling on, really, doesn't it? It's like, he knows about the relationship. I don't know if he's spoken to her yet. He may not have had time, since he said earlier. But now he's sort of intertwined with the father, saying, well, you're going to marry her off to somebody else. And it's like, could you speak a word on my behalf? Oh, God, I don't want to be in this position. Please, can I go back to my cell? Yeah, he's not having a great time. It's interesting, that evolution of Florio going from my daughter can marry whoever she loves to I really want her to marry. She's got to get married in the next few days, and also just that sort of medical thing of her sickness is the fullness of her blood. The suggestion that she needs to get married, and that sort of early modern ideas going on there. I'm sure that lots of people have thoughts on that, as well as other things. I'll go to Lynn, then Lois.
I think when Richardetto says the fullness of her blood, wink, wink, you understand me? Father's like, oh. He's telling the father that she's pregnant, and the father gets the code and says, okay, we got to marry her off like now in order to preserve her reputation. And I was, my thought was, that's a really interesting reaction. In other early modern plays, a father who suspects his daughter of unchastity, or even a father of a daughter who's just disobedient, just rejects her out of hand. I mean, we see that in other plays where fathers are really quick to say, she's none of mine, when the daughter steps out of line, even in a sort of moderate way, let alone becoming pregnant by God knows who. So I think that's it. Florio really is kind of complicated. He says at the beginning he wants his daughter to marry someone she loves, but he definitely has a favorite. He's kind of glad she doesn't marry the foolish the foolish air. And then when he finds out that she's pregnant, his first move is not to be furious or to reject her, but to protect her in her reputation. So yeah, it's really interesting and really complex and really human.
Yes, I mean that's not quite how I read the fullness of the blood in that moment. So I don't know if other people read it. I was reading it more in a sort of excess of humor's line of thinking. But Lois.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it played both ways. There was certainly one production where it was made very obvious that Richardetto meant she's pregnant, and but I don't know. It's the idea of marrying her right off to somebody else so that they can be the father of a child which isn't theirs. I mean, it's really a pretty awful way to treat someone, and I'm not sure Florio would quite go along with that. I mean, I think fullness of the blood can mean, as you're suggesting, that I mean, there is this feeling they have about teenage girls that they were just sex crazy, and that if you didn't get them married pretty soon, you know, they would sort of rush off and grab people in the street and start having sex right there, you know.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all this stuff, you know, that she'd lately eaten eaten melons, and it was sort of the you know, we do get this this pops up in other plays as well, where the eating of certain fruits can be used as a sort of indicator of pregnancy. In this case, it's just he's just playing it, potentially playing it just indigestion. Lynn again.
I just, even though, yeah, marrying her off to someone she's already more or less rejected, I mean, that's not great, but it's the least of the available evils at this point. Her having a child out of wedlock would completely ruin her. And if he's sort of betting that Soranzo is going to basically hide the fact that he married a pregnant bride to preserve his own honor, that he'll go along unwillingly, begrudgingly, but that he'll help hide the truth or pretend that it was his. Oh yes, you know, we were betrothed and we were intimate before the ceremony, but that was purely normative. So yeah, it's not a great solution to be married to someone she doesn't love and to someone who knows he's been cheated on. But on the other hand, like, if she has a child out of wedlock, she's completely screwed. So yeah.
And also the pace of the plotting of this.
Yeah.
You know, we had 2 scenes ago, she says, "Oh, I'm feeling sick," and she exits. Then we immediately have a scene, Putana, she's pregnant, you know, we're all, you know, what everybody already has probably twigged. We're undone, everything's going awfully wrong. And then immediately this scene after that. I mean, this is moving so fast. And people are popping in and out. I mean, this act has a lot of scenes. There are a lot of scenes, one after the other. And so it's just throwing different material at us. I'd say we've just set the Friar up for a conversation with Annabella on some level, and yeah, we're constantly turning over these various different plot lines and just keeping them fresh in our mind. And we do have these occasions where sometimes, you know, we haven't seen someone for an act, and so we sort of go, "Oh, this is the thing that was happening." Whereas this play really doesn't have that problem, which is really nice. Other thoughts before we move on? No. Okay. So we'll run another couple of short scenes off into each other. Act 3, Scene 5. Enter Grimaldi.
Now, if the doctor keep his word, Soranzo, 20-1, you miss your bride. I know 'tis an unnoble act and not becomes a soldier's valor, but in terms of love, where merit cannot sway, policy must. I am resolved, if this physician play not on both hands, then Soranzo falls.
Enter Richardetto.
You are come as I could wish this very night, Soranzo. 'Tis ordained must be a fide to Annabella, and for aught I know, married.
Oh,
Yet your patience the place. 'Tis Friar Bonaventura's cell. Now I would wish you to bestow this night in watching thereabouts. 'Tis but a night, if you miss now, tomorrow I'll know all.
have you the poison?
Here, 'Tis in this box. Doubt nothing. This will do it. In any case, as you respect your life, be quick and sure.
I'll speed him.
Do away. For 'tis not safe you should be seen much here. Ever my love.
And mine to you.
Exit Grimaldi.
So, if this hits, I'll laugh and hug revenge. And they that now dream of a wedding feast may chance to mourn the lusty bridegroom's ruin. But to my other business. Niece Philotis,
Enter
Uncle?
Flotis.
my lovely niece, you have bethought ye.
Yes, and as you counselled, fashioned my heart to love him. But he swears he will straight be married, for he fears his uncle else, if he should know the drift, will hinder all and call his coz to shriek.
Tonight, my best of all. But let me see. Yes. So it shall be in disguise. Will early to the friars. I have thought on it.
Enter Bergetto and Poggio.
Welcome, my worthy coz.
Lass, pretty lass, come, bus, lass. Aha, Poggio.
There's hope of this yet.
Oh, you shall have time enough. Withdraw it. You must confer at large.
Have you not sweetmeats or any dainty devices for me?
You shall enough, sweetheart.
Sweetheart, mark that, Poggio. By my troth, I cannot choose but kiss thee once more for that word, sweetheart. Poggio, I have a monstrous swelling about my stomach. Whatsoever that the matter be.
Oh, sorry.
You shall have physic for it, sir.
Time runs apace.
Time's a blockhead.
Be rude when we have done what's fit to do, then you may kiss your fill and bed her too.
And they exit. Act 3, Scene 6. Enter the friar sitting in a chair, Annabella kneeling and whispering to him, a table before them and wax lights. She weeps and wrings her hands.
I am glad to see this penance, for believe me, you have unripped a soul, so foul and guilty as I must tell you true. I marvel how the earth hath borne you up, but weep on, these tears may do you good. Weep faster yet, whilst I do read the lecture.
Wretched creature!
Hi, you are wretched, miserably wretched, almost condemned alive. There is a place, this daughter, in a black and hollow vault, where there is day never seen. There shines no sun, but flaming horror of consuming fires, a lightless sulphur, choked with smoky fogs of an infected darkness. In this place dwell many thousand sundry sorts of never-dying deaths. Their damned souls roar without pity. There are gluttons fed with toads and adders. There is burning oil poured down the drunkard's throat. The usurer is forced to sup whole drafts? Drafts of molten gold. There is the murderer forever stabbed, yet he can never die. There lies the wanted on racks of burning steel, whilst in his soul he feels the torment of his raging lust.
Mercy, oh mercy!
There stands these wretched things who have dreamt out whole years in lawless sheets and in secret incests, cursing one another. Then will you wish each kiss your brother gave had been a dagger's point, then you shall hear how he will cry, oh, would my wicked sister had first been damned when she did yield to lust. But soft, methinks I see repentance work new motions in your hearts, eh? How's it with you?
Is there no way left to redeem my miseries?
There is, despair not. Heaven is merciful and offers grace even now. 'Tis thus agreed. First, for your honor's safety, that you marry the Lord Soranzo. Next, to save your soul, leave off this life, and henceforth live to him. Sigh not. I know the baits of sin are hard to leave. Oh, 'tis death to do it. Remember what must come. Are you content?
I am.
I like it well. We'll take the time. Who's near us there?
Enter Florio Giovanni.
Did you call, Father?
Is Lord Soranzo come?
He stays below.
Have you acquainted him at full?
I have, and he is overjoyed.
And so are we. Bid him come near.
Sister weeping, huh? I fear this friar's falsehood. I will call him.
Exit Giovanni.
Daughter, are you resolved?
Father, I am.
Enter Giovanni, Soranzo, and Vasques.
My lord Soranzo, here. Give me your hand. For that, I give you this.
Lady, say you so too?
I do, and vow to live with you and yours.
Finally resolved. My blessing rest on both. More to be done. You may perform it on the morning sun.
And they exit. Again, quite a lot happening in quite a short period of time. Annabella obviously has given it. Well, it's interesting because it's this. She's obviously crying and unhappy and wanting to do something a bit different here. But it's just the way. Weep faster yet whilst I do read the lecture. I mean, it's really interesting this moment. And then he does the full fire and brimstone damnation bit, and it's a really weird little bit of business from this guy, and it's maybe he's working overtime because he's just been a little bit too lax earlier in the play, and maybe he's just going, no, I've really got to go for hell for leather here. Maybe he's been practicing. I don't know, but there's something about that scene that's really dark and weird in many ways. From this character and him and Annabella. Eric, then Kyle, then Lynn.
I just like how he does the whole fire and hell and brimstone and all that stuff, and then like, oh, so how are you doing?
Yes, is he even looking? It's like he's hang on, I've got the set fire and brimstone text here. I'm just going to do it. How are you doing? Have you wept sufficiently, Kyle?
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. It seemed really disconnected, like it was like there was two things going on in some way.
Lynn.
I was struck by the sort of hierarchy that he's building in his fire and brimstone speech. Gluttons, drunkards, users, and murderers. So we're kind of building here. It's more or less 7 deadly sins model: gluttony, avarice, violence. And then the last one, of course, is lust. Unlike, say, Dante's model of hell, where the least severe punishment is for the lustful, and pride is at the depths of hell. So in Dante's hierarchy, lust is bad. Lust is very bad. But who are they in the level of lust? But yeah, and interestingly, I don't know if this author if Webster was familiar with the Inferno, but the couple that are in hell in the Inferno were actually sister and brother-in-law. So again, an incestuous as well as an adulterous relationship. But they're the first people that the pilgrim encounters. It's the least severe of the deadly sins. And here the friar implies it's the most severe of the deadly sins.
Yeah, each kiss your brother gave had been a dagger's point. I mean, he's, that's, and I'm assuming there were quite a lot of kisses there. So that's not going to be good. Eric.
What it reminded me of was we did this reading of like the text that Dr. not Mephisto. We did a reading about like what not Dr. Marlowe. Fuck, I forgot.
Dr. John Faustus.
Yes, Dr. John Faustus. Thank you. My brain got stuck there. I don't know why.
So we're talking about the book rather than that is turned
Yeah,
into a
yeah,
play.
and there's this description of hell being like very, very hot and very, very cold and very, very dark and very, very bright, and there's fire and lava and ice, and it's like that's kind of what this reminded me of.
There is a strict geography to hell that is being built here, so you can visualize it. It's not just a sort of an abstract bad place. It's got it. You can map it out. We haven't. Oh, Carl.
I just wanted to add that again with Soranzo's one line, there was a kind of tenderness to it, like he's concerned with her. Is it, or do you choose this too? It felt sincere in some weird way, even though the other stuff didn't. I don't know. It's a strange play.
Well, again, he does. He presumably wants his wife to actually marry him. I mean, again, that's the ideal situation. Yes, this is a all about money and land and good matches and all that. But he does want presumably for her to be okay with it in an ideal way. We haven't talked about the scene before that because we also had the Grimaldi murder plot of Soranzo. So of course we've had Soranzo having this one line in this scene, but of course in the previous scene he's mentioned because Richardetto is organising his murder by the other suitor Grimaldi, and then also we're integrating the other subplot involved as well, as we've got the Bergetto and Philotis and this sort of odd little thing that's going on there, of which I'm still not quite sure precisely what is. Are they actually in favor of the match or are they not? I mean, I'm slightly confused as to are they really seriously considering Bergetto as a I'm not quite sure what's actually happening in that scene. Lois, any that or other thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, Bergetto's an idiot, but his uncle is going to leave him all his money. So I think from Richardetto's point of view, he's probably a very good match for Philotis. And she doesn't seem to mind. I mean, she seems sort of fond of him in a kind of vague way. She'll be mothering him, I think, rather than exactly a wife. And as for the Friar and Annabella, I mean, I think she is genuinely shattered. I mean, it's quite an effective speech, especially the way that it ends with imagining them both in hell and her brother suffering and wishing that they hadn't had this. I mean, she's partly feeling for him as much as for herself there. And there is a transition. I mean, he doesn't just say, "How are you?" He stops and looks and sees that there are signs of repentance. It's interesting to see what she would do. I mean, whether she shifts from just sobbing uncontrollably to sitting up and looking as if she's thinking about something, what can she in fact do at this point?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there is a bit of a problem with Philotis because her function in the play has very much been to have exposition explained to, and stand there and occasionally say some words. I think of all the characters in the play, this is the one character where I'm sort of going, I'm not really sure they are a character. They're a plot device. They have a plot function. That I don't know who they are. Whereas I think pretty much everybody else I do actually know who they are, but I really don't know who she is. Really, Alan.
The thing that's got me at the moment is I'm not quite sure how far this play is adhering to any sort of unity of time, because it reads almost as if it's continuous action or action over a very few days. And yet for the pregnancy plot to actually work, you were talking about several months.
Yeah, I mean,
it just seems.
Well, yeah,
maybe I'm overanalyzing.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it's a fairly standard thing for these kinds of plays where they do a sort of double time thing, that they give the impression that time is happening very quickly, even though in real life there would be a greater distance of time. And I don't think in practice that's a problem. It's something you can analyze later on and say, well, maybe there's a discontinuity, but there isn't a discontinuity. It's just they're not really acknowledging time in the way that we perhaps literally might like. Lynn.
Yeah, he's fudging the pregnancy thing quite a bit. I mean, typically morning sickness takes place in the first trimester. I have read student papers about this because they tell me everything. Right, Kyle? I don't want to know. But yeah, morning sickness can hit actually quite suddenly, like days after conception takes place. But it's usually abates in the second trimester. I've heard people say the middle trimester is the most comfortable of pregnancy. But you don't usually feel the baby move until the middle trimester. So morning sickness and being quick rarely overlap. So he's kind of, the author's kind of fudging that. I mean, depending on how aware she was of her own cycles, she might have been aware she was pregnant within a couple of weeks. You don't necessarily have to wait 3 months, although it might be that far along. It's really ambiguous.
Lois.
I think quick, though, can be used just to mean pregnant. I mean,
she might be using it more loosely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go into the next scene. Act 3, Scene 7. Enter Grimaldi with his rapier drawn and a dark lantern. Ooh.
'Tis early night as yet, and yet too soon to finish such a work. Here will I lie, and listen who comes next.
He lies down. Enter Bergetto and Philotis, disguised, and after Richardetto and Poggio.
We are almost at the place, I hope, sweetheart.
I hear them near, and I heard one say, "Sweetheart." 'Tis he. Now guide my hand. Some angry justice home to his bosom. Now I have you, sir.
And strikes Bergetto and exits.
Oh, help, help! Here's a stitch fallen in my guts. Oh, for a flesh tailor, quickly. Poggio.
What ails, my love?
I am sure I cannot piss forward and backward, and yet I'm wet before and behind. Lights, lights, oh, lights!
Alas, some villain here has slain my love.
Oh, heaven forbid it. Raise up the next neighbours instantly, Poggio, and bring lights.
Exit Poggio.
How is it, Bergetto? Slain? Oh, it cannot be. Are you sure you are hurt?
Oh, my belly seethes like a porridge pot. Some cold water I hear boil over else. My whole body's in a sweat, that you may wring my shirt. Feel here, why, Poggio?
Enter Poggio with officers and lights and halberds.
Here, alas, how do you?
Oh, give me a light. What's here? Oh, blood. Oh, sirs, Signor Donado's nephew now is slain. Follow the murderer with all the haste up to the city. He cannot be far hence. Follow, I beseech you.
Follow, follow, follow! Exeunt officers.
Throw out thy linen, cuz, to stop his wounds. Be of good comfort, man.
Is this all my own blood? Nay, then, good night with me. Poggio, commend me to my uncle. Dost hear? Bid him, for my sake, make much of this wench. Oh, I'm going the wrong way, sure. My belly aches. Oh, farewell, Poggio. Oh.
Dies.
No, he's dead.
Oh, dead?
He's dead indeed. 'Tis now too late to weep. Let's have him home, and with that what speed we may find out the murderer.
Oh, my master, my master, my master.
And they exit. We will pause, even though it's a short scene, because we've had our first death. And not quite the death that was planned. It's all a bit awkward. The nicest character in a sense. I mean, he's not a perfect character by any stretch of it. None of them are, but you know, he there's no malice per se that we could ascribe to the guy, and he's got caught in the wrong murder plot, and it's really not done Richardetto any good, because you know, if he was hoping on the marriage, and you know, as part, it's all gone south. So yeah, Lynn.
What a scene. Well, I had forgotten this twist until like a couple of scenes ago. I was like, oh, I remember that now. Because I mean, dramatic irony, you know, that this is Richardetto's fault because he plotted with Grimaldi to kill Soranzo, and then Grimaldi mistakes his own nephew.
No, not his nephew.
Oh no, it's not his nephew. But he mistakes
a total stranger, actually.
A stranger for his rival. So I don't remember whether he gets caught, but and then this poor girl flows to, yeah, oh, I'm gonna get married. He seems kind of nice. He's rich. Maybe he's really handsome. I don't know. So like her fiance is dead. Richardetto gets the wrong guy. I mean, it's like very tragic and very ironic and very awful. But Bergetto's like making jokes till the very end. So it's like a really complex reaction that we're asked to experience here. I mean, it's funny and it's awful and it's ironic and it's what a scene.
Yeah, this whole thing, he's just been stabbed and he's going, I'm sure I can't piss forward and backward, and yet I'm wet forward and behind, which is my favorite line of the play, it has to be said. Because it's a good point. If you get stabbed and if it's if it's quick and so, he might not quite realize what's happening.
Yeah, when you hurt yourself, the pain sometimes takes.
Yeah, sometimes you need to look at the wound to feel the pain, because there's a sort of confusion brain-body thing, and once you realise you're wounded, that's when the pain really hits. And yeah, he's doing these funny lines, and it's awful. Lots of people are waving. Who shall I go to first? I'll go to Lois, then Eric, and then Alan.
I think it's the most realistic death that there is in drama of this period. I mean, that line is all this my own blood. It's just so scary. It's exactly what one would say, I think.
Yeah. Eric.
I just like how it's like, oh, commend me to my uncle, bid him to enjoy this wench, and like sort of, is that really your dying word? But then, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
doesn't mean seduce her. I mean, it means, look after her financially.
Oh, okay, yeah. Cool. In that case, it makes sense.
Yeah.
No, the poor guy is actually trying to do some good at the end.
Yes, and I'm going the wrong way. Sure, my belly aches so. I mean, that's someone afraid of where he's going now. Farewell, Poggio.
Yeah, and Poggio's grief too. I mean, you don't expect that, but I mean, he clearly is terrible.
But
yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, Poggio doesn't think his master's an intelligent man, but presumably they get on perfectly well together, and have done in their working relationship, and yeah. Alan,
I must admit, I did to a certain extent see that one coming, because setting up an elaborate plot of someone to be loitering outside the cell and then arranging to go there yourself together with your niece and her intended. Being a cynical nature, I was thinking, yeah, this one's definitely going to go pear-shaped.
Kyle, were you waving?
Yeah, I was just thinking about what everybody was saying, and I feel like that whole complexity that's there with this also reminds me of the complexity of the incest with these these characters that seem, high-minded and that sort of stuff. So that the play continuously asks us to experience these complex things. And also, it feels like generically, he was so outside of everything that he shouldn't have been in this, but maybe that's exactly why. So I don't know. I love this play. It's so neat, so interesting.
Yes, they've killed the clown. As close to this play comes to the clown, they've killed him. And at the midway point in the play as well. Eric.
Yeah, there was a bit. I can't remember where it was. Aside from, I'm sure I cannot piss forward, but like it's kind of. Grimaldi doesn't even look at the guy he's killing. He doesn't even know who he's killing. It's just because the guy says "sweetheart." It's like, I'm going to kill him. And what struck me was sort of how. Wait a sec. I think I lost my place in the script. Yeah, Richardetto or Richardetto, depending on how you pronounce it, kind of goes, "Oh, be of good comfort, man. You'll be fine." Which feels a bit. I mean, he doesn't actually say you'll be fine, but it feels sort of. It feels like he could have said that and get away with it, but I don't know how genuine that feeling is.
Well, it's an interesting question. Well, it depends on how much light there is as well, and how much he can see, and he may be just trying to comfort him. We have these stories and say, wartime situations where someone's been mortally wounded, and their friends say, "Yeah, it's kind, it's fine. The medic's on his way," and so there may be a sort of there's a question of where you place what Richardetto is saying at that point. Okay, let's move on. Let's complete the act. We've got 2 scenes to follow for this act. I'm going to run them into each other. Just to try and keep up a sense of the freneticism of this act. This act is so many scenes. Act 3, Scene 8. Enter Vasques and Hippolita.
Betrothed?
I saw it.
And when's the marriage day?
Some 2 days hence.
2 days? Why, man, I would but wish 2 hours to send him to his last and lasting sleep. And Vasques, thou shalt see, I'll do it bravely.
I do not doubt your wisdom, nor I trust you my secrecy. I am infinitely yours.
I will be thine in spite of my disgrace. So soon, oh wicked man, I durst be sworn he'd laugh to see me weep.
And that's a villainous fault in him.
No, let him laugh. I'm armed in my resolves, that be thou still true.
I should get little by treachery against so hopeful a preferment as I am like to claim to.
Even to my bosom, Vasques, let my youth revel in these, let my or thy youth revel in these new pleasures. If we thrive, he now hath but a pair of days to live.
And they exit. Act 3, Scene 9. Enter Florio, Donado, Richardetto, Poggio, and officers.
'Tis bootless now to show yourself a child, Signor Donado. What is done is done. Spend not the time in tears, but seek for justice.
I must confess somewhat I was in fault, that I not first acquainted you what I love, but what love passed oh dear, passed twixt him and my niece, but as I live, his fortune grieves me as it were mine own.
Alas, poor creature, he meant no harm, that I'm sure of.
I believe that too. But stay, my masters. Are you sure you saw the murderer pass here?
Yeah, and it please you, sir, we are sure we saw a ruffian with a naked weapon in his hand, all bloody, get into my Lord Cardinal Grace's gate. That we're sure of. But for fear of his grace, bless us, we durst go no further.
Know you what manner of man he was?
Oh, yes, sure, I know the man. They say as a soldier, he loved your daughter, sir, it please you. 'Twas he for certain.
Grimaldi, on my life!
Oh, aye, the same.
Cardinal is noble. He no doubt will give true justice.
Knock, someone at the gate.
I'll knock, sir.
Poggio knocks.
What would ye?
We require speech with the Lord Cardinal about some present business. Pray inform his grace that we are here.
Enter Cardinal and Grimaldi.
Why, how now, friends? What saucy mates are you that know nor duty nor civility? Are we a person fit to be your host? Or is our house become your common inn to beat our doors at pleasure? What such haste is yours that it cannot wait fit times? Are you the masters of the Commonwealth and know no more discretion? Oh, your news is here before you. You have lost a nephew, Donado, last night by Grimaldi slain. Is that your business? Well, sir, we have knowledge on't. Let that suffice.
In presence of your grace, in thought I never meant Bergetto harm, but Florio can tell with how much scorn Soranzo, backed with his confederates, hath often wronged me. I, to be revenged, for that I could not win him else to fight, had thought by way of ambush to have killed him, but was unluckily therein mistook, else he had felt what late Bergetto did. And though my fault to him was merely chance, yet humbly I submit me to your grace to do with me as you please.
Rise up, Grimaldi. You citizens of Parma, if you seek for justice, know, as nuncio from the Pope, for this offense I here receive Grimaldi into his holiness' protection. He is no common man, but nobly born, of prince's blood, though you, Sir Florio, thought him too mean a husband for your daughter. If more you seek for, you must go to Rome, for he shall thither. Learn more wit for shame, bury your dead. Away, Grimaldi, leave him.
Exit Cardinal and Grimaldi.
Is this a churchman's voice? Dwell justice here?
Justice is fed to heaven and comes no nearer. Soranzo was for him. Impudence. Be the face to speak it, not blush. Come, Donado. There's no help in this. When cardinals think murder's not amiss, great men may do their wills. We must obey, but heaven will judge them for it another day.
And they exit. Okay, this is doing a lot of it, and I didn't see this coming. But it's talking. It's something about tragedy, nature of revenge as well, because we're sort of raising the question of revenge. We've sort of had quarrels, but there so far hasn't been a revenge tragedy as it's set up. But we're setting up that, and it sort of brings us all the way back to things like the Spanish tragedy, where this question of justice being denied comes up, which creates the sort of the place for your own revenge scenarios. And so the play takes this interesting this moment of clear lack of justice, where is the cardinal is protecting him, and yeah, and he just says, no, it's fine. He's under my protection, and he's very sorry. He's very sorry, and that's it. And that just sends Florio, who's been a questionable bloke, but on the whole, his suddenly sensing to him his sense of natural justice has been thrown, which is really interesting little twist here, and as we come to the end of Act 3, Alan.
Yeah, plus ça change. The toff gets away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they makes explicitly that point. He's noble, though he wasn't good enough for your daughter. I mean, really, is that the time to be throwing that in? Eric.
What I find interesting is that line about when cardinals think murder's not amiss. It made me think of like stuff that was happening probably in Rome, well, not necessarily historically. I don't know how historical that was, but like if you watch series like the Borgias and that kind of thing, I don't know how historically accurate that is again, but like the way they became supposedly popes and cardinals and rose to power was basically through manipulation and murder. So there's a part of me going, yeah, is that something to take on board, or what's going on here?
Well,
I know it's just doing interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, again, it's from the if we take a historicist sort of position here, at the time, anything over there which is involving the Pope is obviously suspect, and there is no natural justice in that universe, and so that's the Protestant England point of view, and that's one of the reasons why playwrights can get away with these extremes, because they can say, well, it's not us good English Protestants, we wouldn't do anything like this because we don't live in a hotbed of vice, which is under these foreign faraway types, and that's sort of the logic that Ford and other playwrights are able to get away with. Lynn, I think, and then Lois.
Yeah, basically I was going to say what you just said, especially for an English playwright. The default is the cardinal is a bad guy. There are exceptions. The cardinal's actually a pretty decent person in Women Beware Women, as hopefully we will see one day. But the Catholic Church was considered corrupt. I mean, not that they were wrong about that. But yeah, the Catholics are the bad guys in English plays. So yeah, no big surprise here.
Other corrupt theologies are available. Yes. Were you waving, Lois? Or otherwise, I'll go to Carl.
Yeah. I mean, the only other point is just that. The higher up you get in the hierarchy, I think generally the more wicked you are, and especially the references to the Pope in this are just adding to it. But on the other hand, people like friars are usually treated fairly sympathetically. I mean, it depends on the play, but if you want some kind of reliable moral figure, it's got to be somebody really low down in the hierarchy.
Yes, some friars are your sort of your hearty types who maybe get up to a little naughtiness, but they can also be pillars. And in a sense, the friar in this is trying to do a good job, and so we do have a contrast in the play of someone who is clearly a bit corrupted at the top, because of course power corrupts, and someone who is much less so. Carl.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that occasionally there's like these little moments of Puritanism to me in the play, like kind of Calvinist world, right? With like the worm, man is a worm kind of stuff
Mm.
there, weirdly.
And of course, we've skipped the scene we started with, which was incredibly short. Again, it's a sort of reminder, place-setting scene of Hippolyta reacting to the fact that her ex-lover is getting married, and again, we're getting Vasques sort of. I mean, it's this sort of question of how hot to trot he is with her. I mean, there is a sort of implication that he's quite into her, but not necessarily the other way around. And it's but there's room to play with what their relationship is doing, because there is a sort of sub-dom sort of vibe between them. But I don't know if I'm reading. I mean, there isn't much dialogue to read into there, but there's someone put in the chat, you know, why is he into this so much? And it does seem that maybe he's hopeful. I mean, Hippolyta is clearly still quite cut up about Soranzo and probably still a little bit in love with him, but still also wants revenge. So it's complicated, which is why we like the play. Eric.
Also there was a bit that reminded me of I put it in the chat as well, of the insatiate countess, of like, oh yes, lustful wife tries to, or vengeful wife in this case, tries to kill her husband in order to sort of get rid of him and have a new lover and that kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but again, it's a sort of place-setting scene, and in an act which is full of scenes. I mean, there are 9 scenes in this act, and assuming that the acts were primarily designed for an indoor space with little breaks between. I mean, that's a tour de force was Act 3. I mean, there was so much packed in there. And I think played fleeter foot, you know, without us stopping and starting constantly because there were so many scenes. I mean, I even only stopped and started every other scene. You know, there's so much to pack in, and that's really seems really effective. Okay, we've had a little break. We've had an ice cream. The candles have been trimmed. Let's go back in for Act 4, Scene 1. And in fact, there is a little sort of indication of how you could integrate music cues into those intervals as well. But this is to set up the scene coming, but there's no reason why that cannot be effectively a continuation, as we have a banquet and we have hot boys, and enter the Friar, Giovanni, Annabella, Philotis, Soranzo, Donado, Florio, Richardetto, Putana, and Vasques. So there's a possibility we're all going to clash now at some point.
These holy rites performed, now take your time to spend the remnant of the day in feast. Such fit repasts are pleasing to the saints who are your guests, though not with mortal eyes to be beheld. Long prosper in this day, you happy couple, to each other's joy.
Father, your prayer is heard. The hand of goodness hath been a shield for me against my death, and more to bless me hath enriched my life with this most precious jewel, such a prize as earth hath not another like to this. Cheer up, my love, and gentlemen, my friends, rejoice with me in mirth. This day will crown with lusty cups to Annabella's health.
Torture! Were the marriage yet undone ere I'd endure this sight, to see my love clipped by another, I would dare confusion and stand the horror of 10,000 deaths.
Are you not well, sir?
Prithee, fellow, wait. I need not thy officious diligence.
Signor Donado, come, you must forget your late mishaps and drown your cares in wine.
Vasques,
My lord?
reach me that weighty bowl. Here, brother Giovanni, here's to you. Your turn comes next. Though now a bachelor, here's to your sister's happiness and mine.
I cannot drink.
What?
'Twill indeed offend me.
Pray do not urge him if he be not willing.
Now, what noise is this?
Oh, sir, I had forgot to tell you. Certain young maidens of Parma, in honour to Madame Annabella's marriage, have sent their loves to her in a masque, for which they humbly crave your patience and silence.
We are much bound to them, so much the more as it comes unexpected. Guide them.
And we have more music, and we have enter Hippolyta and ladies in masks, inferred from what's coming, and white robes with garlands of willows. There is music and a dance.
Thanks, lovely virgins. Now might we but know to whom we have been beholding for this love. We shall acknowledge it.
Yes, you shall know. What think you now?
Hippolita?
'Tis she. Be not amazed, nor blush, young lovely bride. I come not to defraud you of your man. 'Tis now no time to reckon up the talk, what Parma long hath rumoured of us both. Let rash report run on. The breath that vents it will, like a bubble, break itself at last. But now to you, sweet creature, lends your hand. Perhaps it hath been said that I would claim some interest in Soranzo, now your lord. What I have right to do, his soul knows best. But in my duty to your noble worth, sweet Annabella, and my care of you, here, take Soranzo. Take this hand from me. I'll once more join what by the Holy Church is finished and allowed. Have I done well?
You have too much engaged us.
One thing more, that you may know my single charity. Freely I here remit all interest I e'er could claim, and give you back your vows, and to confirm it, reach me a cup of wine. My lord Soranzo, in this draught I drink, long rest thee. Look to it, Vasques.
Fear nothing.
And he gives her a poisoned cup. She drinks.
Hippolita, I thank you, and will pledge this happy union as another life. Wine there.
You shall have none, neither shall you pledge her.
Ow!
No, mistress she-devil, your own mischievous treachery hath killed you. I must not marry you.
Villain!
The matter?
What's the
What's
matter?
the matter? Says everyone.
Foolish woman, thou art now like a firebrand that had kindled others and burnt thyself. Troppo spera ingana, thy hope hath deceived thee. Thou art but dead if thou hast any grace. Pray.
Monster!
Die in charity, for shame! This thing of malice, this woman had privately corrupted me with promise of malice, under this politic reconciliation, to poison my lord, while she might laugh at his confusion on his marriage day. Oh, I promised her fair, but I knew what my reward should have been, and would willingly have spared her life, but that I was acquainted with the danger of her disposition, and now have fitted her a just payment in her own coin. There she is. She hath yet, and end thy days in peace, vile woman. As for life, there's no hope. Think not on it.
Wonderful justice.
Wonderful justice.
Heaven, thou art righteous.
Oh, 'tis true. I feel my minute coming, and had that slave kept promise. Oh, my torment, thou this hour hadst died, Soranzo, heat above hellfire. Yet, ere I pass away, cruel flames, take here my curse amongst you. May thy bed of marriage be a rock unto thy heart, burn blood and boil in vengeance. Oh, my heart, thy flames intolerable. Mayst thou live to father bastards. May her womb bring forth monsters and die together in your sins, hated, scorned, and unpitied. Oh. Dies.
Dies, yes.
Must dare so vile a creature?
Here's the end of lust and pride.
It is a fearful sight.
Vasques, I know thee now, a trusty servant, and never will forget thee. Come, my love, we'll home, and thank the heavens for this escape. Father and friends, we must break up this mirth. It is too sad a feast. Bear hence the body.
Who's the friar?
Yes, the friar.
Apologies,
steps
I
in.
forgot I was in the scene. I thought I was dead. Here's an ominous change. Mark this, my Giovanni, and take heed. I fear the event that marriage seldom's good, where the bride banquet so begins in blood.
And they exit. Well, I mean, there's again a lot to unpack here. I mean, it's a bit awkward at a marriage for an ex to pop in and make a speech in the in quite so demonstratively a large scale way. I think we found where you start the second act for a modern production, haven't you? I mean, I'm not sure the close of the previous act was. Yeah, no, that's quite a good close. So that might be a place to put it. I think that works quite nicely because it starts it off with a bang, doesn't it? You get a mask, you wet everybody up, you get a bit of music, and you get Hippolita going ta-da, and then being poisoned, and Vasques goes, "Yeah, I did it." And now the question people were asking earlier, which we debated very diligently as an audience member would. It was all a plan all along. Yeah, so he does this, and literally nobody says a thing about it. Like, you've just murdered someone.
Right.
Fine, well done. Thank you for this. It's all a bit awkward. Shall we go to bed, dear?
Right?
Nobody else, apart from the friar at the end, and Donado just going get bare hands to the body.
Well, Soranzo also says, like, I know you're a trusty servant now. It's like,
Yeah, but that's Soranzo. It's, he's implicated. Nobody else, none of the people who are not implicated, apart from the friar going, well, that wasn't a really good, that's not really a good sign for the marriage. I mean, wow. Killing people's lives are really cheap in this play. Nobody seems to really seriously care. Or do a thing about it. It's really, really interesting. Eric, then Lynn.
Well, what I found interesting was Hippolyta's last speech. Like, you could feel, okay, obviously, I don't know how she was in the first part of the play, where I wasn't here, but I feel like you could really enjoy that sort of burn blood and boil in vengeance. It's like, yeah, that's totally a good wish. For a marriage, but then you kind of already mayst thou live to father bastards has already kind of happened, except they don't know it yet.
Yeah, and the obviously Richardetto is biased against her anyway, so he's perfectly happy for his wife to die at that point, isn't it? Here's the end of Lust and Pride, and sort of there's that. It's interesting. Florio again is also blaming her for her murder here. But again, nobody sort of goes, maybe murdering people's bad. Lynn, then Lois.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before, Rob, but when you were talking about how Vasques basically kills somebody, even though she was planning to murder her ex-boyfriend, but it's like it's like the possibility that that Vasques should have said, "Oh yeah, sure, okay, I'm with you," and then gone and told his boss, "Oh man, your ex-girlfriend's trying to kill you." And that possibility is never occurred to anybody. Oh, he did the right thing by murdering the potential murderess. Like, the standards here are really interesting. That Grimaldi gets away with murder, although everyone says that's not justice. And an attempted murderer gets killed, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's how it should be." And it's not a coincidence that the man who gets away with murder and the woman doesn't and is hoisted by her own petard. I just think the expectations are different, or they're gendered.
Oh yes, it's definitely gendered. I mean, and this is pointing us in the direction where this play is probably going with some presumably more deaths. I mean, I'm assuming more people are going to die. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, I think people just are used to the idea that somebody's murder plot backfiring on them and them dying is just divine justice, and that's how they react to it. But yeah, I'd also suggest everybody keep an eye on Vasques, because that bit where he notices that Giovanni is upset and speaks to him, and Giovanni says, "Get the hell out of here." I mean, it's not a good idea to have Vasques noticing you, I think, in any way.
Yes, and we haven't talked about that, because this is the wedding of his love. And he's clearly not taking it well. is Giovanni at all, and people are noticing that this is there, and Annabella's trying to cover for him, and there's these complicated things, and again, what are the actors doing? Where are they looking? Who are they looking at? This is a crowded scene, even though actually most people don't say very much. There's a lot of action here. There's a lot of stuff to do, and the wedding DJ is clearly just sitting there going, well, I'm going home early, aren't I? Pack your bags, people. We're not doing any grooving on down tonight. Lois.
Yeah, and I don't really know what the actor playing Donado is supposed to do. I mean, he was crying in the previous scene. I mean, he obviously has been very fond of Bergetto, and in this scene as well, they refer to his late loss. But by the end, he's saying remove the body, but he may be completely numb. But it's very difficult for the actor. He's got practically no lines to indicate how somebody to whom something really horrible has happened. I mean, both the loss of Bergetto and the total injustice of the Cardinal's behavior, and then he's got to go through all this rather shocking episode, which it could be that he just, it all just sort of washes over him.
Yeah, I was going with numb myself for Donado at that point. But yeah, and again, there's quite a few people on stage here who say nothing or do nothing throughout all of this. I mean, presumably a lot of the women are involved in the mask with Hippolita there. But Putana doesn't say anything, and etc. There's an awful lot of people standing around potentially. Alan.
Yeah, I think actually what's happening is Donado who is portrayed as being a wise elder almost in much of the play. Is basically, okay, fine, let's just try and get things back to some sort of normality. Let's get rid of the bodies.
Yes, why does it fall to him?
Well, he's one of the few who's...
Well, it's not his house. I mean,
no, but he is portrayed as being a responsible elder, I think.
Yeah, the Cardinal does say that both Florio and Donado are somehow, I don't know, statesmen, aren't they? In the town, they have some sort of office.
Yeah, they're elders of the community, I think.
Yeah, but
they're citizens. They're citizens as well. I think Soranzo is an aristocrat, and I think, and Grimaldi is too. But I think that Donado and Florio are bourgeois.
Yeah, and it says it's just the thing. It's sort of thinking, if it's not his house, he's not marrying his son off, his nephew off to it. His place here is slightly, so it's slightly odd that it falls to him to do. And maybe it's just to give him a line for the scene, because you could easily give that to somebody else. At this point, there's also the question of where is the friar literally talking to Giovanni, or is he talking to the audience at the end? Because I feel that hence the body is all the actors slowly walk off. Everyone's looking a bit shocked. There's the sort of procession of Soranzo and his bride off in a sort of, you can make a real tableau moment here, and the friar is turning to the audience while that is happening. Is not literally he's talking to Giovanni. It's just, you really hope you were watching this, because this isn't going to end well. And so, again, this is why this scene makes quite a nice opener for a second half, because it really does restate so much. And there's supposed to have been a couple of days between the last scene and this scene, so it's nice to have an actual physical time break. Okay, right. Well, any more for the beginning of Act 4? Otherwise, we'll go into final thoughts. The play continues to give us. I mean, this is we've been talking about, the detail and the character and all the stuff we're digging into, and the stuff it's giving actors to do. But also, let's just give it to this as just being rollicking nonsense as well. I mean, it is pushing those sort of exploitation buttons all over the shop of scene, action, death, incest. It is at the same time as being extremely well crafted. It is a bit skeezy around the edges, and it sort of luxuriates in it and enjoys it, and it knows it is, because at this sort of end of history, it's late in the R period, all this stuff has been done before, somewhere in some fashion, and so what we're talking about here is craft, not innovation. which is fine. I kind of feel we live in that world when it comes to film and television today as well. That so much of what we're seeing is people taking stuff they saw as a child and they're just doing it their way and giving it a bit more oomph and a bit more kick. Again, none of that's a criticism. That's just sort of seems to me that that's sort of the stuff that he's doing. And yeah, enjoying the darkness as it encroaches and moves in. Greg, do you have any final thoughts?
Some really interesting moments this afternoon. I did enjoy I just completely forgot the woman's name. This is not good. Hippolita. How on earth did I forget Hippolita? Does death. Enjoyed the scheming of Vasques. That little speech about why he did it was quite fun. Yeah, and Richardetto was an interesting addition to the party for me. But no, we're looking forward to seeing how this all ties up tomorrow.
They all live happily ever after. Lois, any final thoughts?
No, just that it seemed to be really one good scene after another, and an amazing, quite daring thing, really, to kill off a comic character. I think probably most of the audience wouldn't have expected that. I mean, unless they were noticing there is a comparison they might have been making, which we can't really talk about, but in which that would have been a sort of parallel. But otherwise, I think it would have been a complete shock.
Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's still running like clockwork, and I think the audience would probably be getting totally bloody confused as to what's going on. Because as soon as you think you've got a direction of travel, suddenly you get a screeching turn, rubber all over the road, and what happened there? And I mean, the body count actually has not been dramatically high yet.
It's only two so far. Only two.
Only two, and 2/3 of the way through it.
Yeah. Well, you've got to save some people to die. It's sort of like an inverse murder mystery. In a murder mystery, you can't kill off too many characters because you need to find out. Because you can't have too few suspects left alive at the end. Where it's sort of the reverse. You as you go on, you have to kill more and more people, but you've got to save them up to the end because you know who the murderers are going to be, but you don't quite know how they're all going to die. So yeah. Yes, and as I say, we had a mask in Act 4, and you're sort of going, wow, that's early for your death murdery masks. They usually turn up in Act 5. Kyle, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I go back to Bergetto too as being the most interesting moment of this for me. I feel like there's a lot of we're being set up to expect something to happen because of the bad things that people are doing. And it starts to happen, but then there's moments where it's not happening, like with him and with their incest continuing on. So I don't know, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like everything is a setup for what's going to happen in the next scene, the next act. So I'm excited to see how it ends.
And Lois, we're done. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Thinking about what you said earlier, Rob, about the skeeziness. I mean, that's fair. It does indulge. It's definitely sort of pushing the shock value, but at the same time, the shocking turns of events and the murders and the tawdriness don't feel entirely gratuitous. I think it's very skillful the way all of this is woven together. I mean, you could try to pick out the Grimaldi, Bergetto, Donado plot, but you'd have to get rid of the foolish suitor some other way, or just or get rid of both the suitors. It's woven in there pretty tightly. And the scene where Bergetto gets accidentally murdered by one of his rivals for Annabella, only he's the wrong. That scene is just so great. Yeah, you wouldn't want to lose it. So let's keep it all. So yeah, it's sort of in some ways shocking for being the sake of being shocking, but it's so skillfully stitched together that it doesn't feel tacked on. The deaths and the scandals don't feel like they're just sort of shoehorned in there for shock value. It's all of a piece, and I really admire that.
Eric, any final thoughts? Yeah, you weren't here for the first session, so welcome to.
And you killed him twice in the second. That's
Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
When if you're not available for the full week, we try to pack a little bit more in for someone,
Yeah, I'm just impressed that because I mean we've talked about this, but a lot has happened to get to this point in the play. And it feels like an ending. What I don't know if there are other plots going on in the background, but I mean, it feels like you could end the play here in a way. I mean, 2 characters have died, right? I guess it depends if you want them to get their comeuppance or not. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious how it finishes as well.
Yes. Well, place your bets now for who survives the play, because we are coming towards the close. So anyone who wants to make a bet as to who's gonna make it, it's less who's gonna die. It's a question of who's gonna make it. I think literally everybody's gonna die, or everybody's gonna survive. It's very hard to kill literally everyone. There's usually got to, just on the principle of I mean, if the last person has to die from slow-acting poison or something while everybody else is got stabbed. Just on a logistical level, someone's probably going to make it to the end. I'm just sort of looking at it on a sort of doubling level in the sense that we've cleared out probably, effectively 3 characters from the first half of Donado probably has a function in the plot from this point onwards, but he's peripheral. But obviously, Bergetto's dead, and Poggio is probably no longer required because his master's dead. But I don't think we necessarily get any new characters for the close of the play. So we sort of cleared a couple of bits, because I always like to see, can you double certain thing? Can you get the cast down a little bit without cutting characters? Because you can. It's been done. Where the Bergetto plotline has been trimmed from versions, and it can work. Whether it works is another matter. Discuss. Whether we can craft a sensible production with a reasonable distribution of parts, because I don't really see what the chap playing Bergetto does in the second half, apart from sort of linger, unless somehow he doubles as the Cardinal. That's one hell of a character swap. It's doable. It's just about doable. You could do it, but whether it would land, I don't know. Eric?
Also, it just occurred to me, I think it was in one of the scenes, right before Bergetto gets murdered, or maybe the scene before that, so 2 scenes removed. They mentioned that they're going to murder him in Bonaventura's cell. So they're murdering him in the Friar's cell. So it's kind of like, how complicit is the Friar in all this? I just realized.
I think it's just a location. I don't think it's in the cell; it's by it. I think.
Yeah, but still, it's like wouldn't you know?
No.
It's just a play. I mean, you know about it afterwards. You'll go, I've got to clean the stoop. This stuff doesn't wash out. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the route that seemed to suggest me was that the Friar's cell is out with the town. It's on the outskirts. It's in the quiet wooded area. Therefore, good ambush territory.
And actually, that comes to another point, which is when we're talking about who knows what within this sort of closed, confined these kind of places. That sometimes the most private place you can be is in public. Is outside in a deserted street, or in a forest, or a glade, or somewhere. Because if you're in a household, there's always someone about. You never get a chance to have a proper conversation with anyone. unless you've got a servant who's willing to cover for you, which is what the central couple have. But even then, it's so difficult in this kind of society to keep a secret because everybody's always around you. It's not like today where we have anonymous cities where you can just wander in and do anything you like. There's a little hint of that in some of the city comedies, of course, because you're starting to get that birth of the anonymous city, where you can con people you've never met. But yeah, in a semi-courtly settings like this, where everybody's households are slightly overlapping, yeah, it's very hard to do that. So Friar's cell is probably as good a location as anywhere else. Any more for any more? Otherwise, I will close this session. Well, we've got one more session to go. Place your bets on who's going to make it out the other side. All that remains, thank all the wonderful readers. You too can be a wonderful reader if you wish to read. There are forms every week, sign-up forms. Anyone in the world, if you have Zoom, you can join us on Zoom if you so wish. Sign up and join us. But let us thank the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Burn blood and boil in vengeance.